Hello anyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, where we are about to expose some hacking corruption. So if you haven't seen the first episode, go and watch that now because it will make no sense without it, but for those of you who are caught up, the waiter/policeman is going down.
Yes!
Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier.
Objection!
Poppycock. What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. What? If he truly were? Come on, Ryunosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity is proven by this evidence. I'm really bad at reading Japanese names, I'm very sorry. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. Oh, I love your sarcastic tendencies there. I was going for testimonies. Good grief, this is messing with my head already. It's not the name that's unexpected, it's his job title. His job? Oh, Chief Inspector. Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence, if they're wielding it somehow here. Updated. Fabulous. Accidentally started the conversation again. Still getting used to the buttons. Doo-doo-ba-doo.
Yes!
The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question. I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail. I'm not sure how we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession, but that's surely... Good gracious. That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Hosonaga. I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realised it was a possibility. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well... Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course, here you are. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So you mean to say you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course. Your salary must be I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes. There have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. It's the smuggling ring, I presume. That's still my guess. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say... Remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interests not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect. Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. My guess is that the evidence is going to be that the gun Ryunosuke found, he said, was English-made. So it would make sense that an Englishwoman had carried it. But back to the plot. But that's not right! One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yuma University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain. And I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Jezal Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yume's University Medical Faculty. What is happening here? I can admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene. and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with the situation. I mean, this is very much a mess. I get the whole political difficulties, but casually framing a student is very harsh, you guys. Very well, my thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
But Your Excellency, that would be missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Why does that feel questionable? Or too good to be true, rather. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir? You will locate this Jezal Brett and escort her to the courtroom with utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. Except your cough. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student, Jezal Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency. Good. Then we'll have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. Well, this has taken some turns. Oh, to be continued. Okay, save point then. It's quite a long first case. By Ace Attorney standards. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. That was superb. Ugh, my heart was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, you'd started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Oh, there's the, extended right/Naruhodo family for you. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Huh. Anyway, it looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Jezal Brett, a student from Great Britain. Is she? I'm not getting the name pun here either. I guess Brett could be Brit, but that seems too obvious. That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in this courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I am sure about. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself. Then, on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table, I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor, and just after I bent down and picked it up, I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me in some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fun. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Okay, so he's probably not the murderer if we think it's the woman. Professor McCutterber. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so I won't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy. Our justice system even more so. Which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference, lawyer or otherwise, if I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life. I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma? Well then, it looks like it all comes down to you, young man. To me? Yes, you need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UME, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I've no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then, I'm still not sure I trust this guy, but what can you do? I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. She's being very quiet so far. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal a decisive blow before those old fossils know what's hit them. Kazuma? What? Thank you, really. What for? Well, if you hadn't said you believed in me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer and as a friend. Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. Gosh, what a duo. The court hereby resumes the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you managed to subpoena the witness? Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under a rather painful scrutiny from the government. Sorry. Let the government scrutinize, that's their job. It's nothing to worry about. It's highly unlikely that the good relations we forged with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down and our nation founders? Again, terribly sorry. If the friendship between our nations is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke. Also, this is not his fault. Like, he's very much getting framed for this. If the government's mad about it, that's on them. What do you mean? A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. This is what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England? Shut up! Shut up, you jumped-up rookie boy! You and your friend know nothing. Nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Again, the English, not all we're cracked up to be. I mean, we were disturbingly good at invading places, but that's not a point in our favour. Steady political manoeuvring is what will secure our futures. I won't deny that I'm no expert. I'm just a student. And one who could arguably study harder too. I feel that. But standing here now in our Supreme Court, there is one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Well said, Ryunosuke. Despite the wide-eyed look of terror, I love him. You little brats! Thank you, Council. This court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system and exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett. Yes. Your Excellency. Oh, that's a hat. That's really quite the hat. We're doing this again. Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentlewoman to Japan, and from such a distant land. Are we getting the April-May effect here? Tea! Somebody bring English tea! In England, no discussions take place without tea! Oh boy. Is that true? No idea. So, ahem. Could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court? Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I don't think we meant you. I've been working undercover as the head waiter at the carnival, but my true identity is yes, we know all about you already. Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of. Oh, yes, I think I did, didn't I? Yet your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Guilty. So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please. I don't like the lack of eyes. What now? Is she speaking English? If so, that's a great way of portraying that. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but what? The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student, currently enrolled in UMA University's medical faculty. Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of the delightful language of the British people. Someone hasn't been listening to me. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song. As far as I can tell. The detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. So do they both speak English? Huh, you'll obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryunosuke. Oh yeah, they did mention that they would meet up in their English classes, but then Ryunosuke got shoved into a cupboard, so yay. The court thanks the beautiful lady for taking the stand. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called Le Carnaval, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? She says, yes. This could take some time. You're not kidding. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese? She'd like to apologise for disappearing from the scene. She says she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting, when you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the Bureau. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? Apparently it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say... Yes, it would appear the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order. Order in court. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, it looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. Here we go again. A frightening and sorrowful sight. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. Excuse me, I'm still yawning, shockingly. Again, it's been a long weekend. This is a condemning testimony. No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all.
Objection!
quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you black-hearted blackguard, and look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose words the court is going to believe. Ooh, shades of Dahlia Hawthorne. Ugh. You're still making the same mistakes, Rinosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that, and that's a lesson you need to learn. Oh, but he's so annoying! Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the 2 witnesses who testified before and reported back to the Bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. The testimonies of the last 2 witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so, on the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there is nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. Have you seen the size of that skirt, mate? You could hide all sorts in there. I would think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to. Yeah. The Swan has it. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden the weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. Oh, that's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to... mate? Okay. If only I was allowed to lift up her dress, I could prove it. Don't think about doing anything rash, Rinosuke. But I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun that day. You're right about that, which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. My bet's in the Swan. And to do so, we will need to pull her testimony apart. Unnerving. The defence may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. Here we go.
Yes!
After 2 p.m, in fact. That's really quite a late lunch, isn't it?
Objection!
You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are on vogue, isn't that right? No. A decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems. So it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together. But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier. That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late. Yes, that all makes perfect sense. Such wonderful logic. What a shining example of English intelligence this fine gentlewoman is. I mean, probably more so her than me. In case it wasn't obvious by this point, yes, I am English. I'm sure you'll have realised, but, can't say I feel as smart as they're implying. So you both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? Oh, so you wanted food?
Yes!
I really can't stop yawning, I'm sorry. He was unable to eat, you say? And that was because he'd just had a tooth removed at Hotter Clinic, correct? That's right. You're supposed to actually check with the witness before answering? Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? It seems so, yes. She'd heard that the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events. Exactly as it was left. See, last episode I was wondering why the plate was on his side of the table if he wasn't eating. Dear me, what a harrowing experience. To have travelled to a distant island on the far side of the world and be embroiled in such a tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I swear I will crush the evil fiend that has subjected you to this terrible plight. So the victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all? That's right. Seriously, this yawning is a problem. Other than some carbonated water. Just water? Yes, the professor was unable to eat, but he had been given permission to drink water. So it appears that the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. But wasn't there only one at the table? They each raised a glass of carbonated water. What do you think, Rinosuke, about the witness's last statement? It's very meaningful. That last statement of yours, Miss Brett, has a profound bearing on this case. Well, well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing, The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony. Well sidestepped, counsel. Very well, Miss Brett. Kindly repeat what you just said to be added to your official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm going to remember that one. Which one? The significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use that phrase. Is this going to turn into a catchphrase? I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Rinosuke. Oh, he looks so disappointed. I love him. Okay, so... yeah, this will be the thing I have to present, I would imagine, because there's only one glass. But just for the sake of why not, I'm going to press everything anyway.
Yes!
So both you and the professor drank this carbonated water, did you? Yes. Being the waiter, I poured the 2 glasses myself. I clearly remember doing so. Except you're actually a detective. And the beefsteak, that was for you, Miss Brett? The lady says that she'd heard it was not customary to eat beef here until Japan opened its doors to the world. Yes, that's true. What a frightful place, is the lady's opinion. And I've heard it's not customary to eat sashimi in Great Britain. Now that's frightful. Every country has its own cuisine. As long as people have food to eat, what does it matter what it is? True. Come to think of it. The first time I tried carbonated water, it was much more of a shock than the first time I tried beef. But anyway, back to this witness's statement. That was a very terrifying head turn. I did not like that. Somehow I feel there's something out of place in what she's saying. I don't... oh, it feels like he's staring directly at me. It's creepy. We need to pounce on even the slightest thing now, because you never know what might lead us to our goal. Our goal of turning this trial around. Oh, it's so Ace Attorney! Understood, Kazuma. And it's weird without Phoenix Wright turning up somewhere, but... after a while, the accused came over to greet the professor and they got into a fierce argument.
Yes!
Let's see what we supposedly argued about. I never got into an argument with the professor. All I did when I noticed him was go over to say hello. Please don't get angry with me. No, I wasn't directing that retort at you. It was meant for the lady next to you. But anyway, as I said, I did not argue with the professor. I'm afraid your words are in vain. Sorry? Miss Brett does not appear to speak Japanese. No, of course not. Japanese is such a cumbersome language anyway. I mean, frankly, English seems to be the worst language to pick up as a second from what I've heard. So, I don't know what we're on about here. The difference in alphabet would be a massive problem for me, but I'm also a dumb, so... English is the future. We must all... Supiku Ingarishu. Oh no. Oh dear. Game no. I wonder if the prosecution will feel that way forever, or only in the presence of a beautiful woman. Well, that beautiful woman is telling blatant lies with a completely straight face. Now that does sound fairly British, yes. I have to find something that will unravel her testimony, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may be. Anyway, it seems that after the argument, the accused briefly returned to his own seat. That part ties in with what you said, doesn't it? Yes, I still had some coffee to drink. And the next time you got up after that was when I finished my coffee and stood up to leave. Then not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes.
Yes!
Like I said, I did not shoot the gun. And like I said, there's no point repeating that assertion over and over. Well, I wasn't expecting to be attacked by my own side. Nevertheless, defendant, you can't deny that when the shot rang out in the restaurant, you had a gun in your hand. Well, yes, that's true, but all I did was pick up the gun I saw on the floor next to the professor as I was leaving the restaurant. In fact, yes. There was someone much closer to the victim than me at the time. The highly suspicious...
Attention!
That will do, you dirty, rotten scoundrel. Dirty? Your baseless accusations could very well cause an international incident, boy. It seems to me that your accusation is just as baseless as ours. What nonsense. The lady is merely stating what she saw. And this is already an international incident as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Yeah. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit.
Yes!
It's all very well saying that, but can you prove it? Absolutely. I verified it personally. You verified it? Yes, immediately after the incident. I checked to make sure the lady was not carrying a weapon. I distinctly remember her saying, "I'm not." Wow, what a thorough investigation. That's all you did? You just asked her? Surely you carried out a physical search, Inspector? No. Why on earth not? The Honourable English Gentlewoman clearly stated that she did not possess a weapon. There was obviously no need for any further probing into the matter. Oh dear lord. Or, there was no permission given for any further probing into the matter, perhaps? Think what you will, but if you're going to continue with this preposterous claim that the refined lady was concealing a firearm, the prosecution demands that you support your assertion with facts. In other words, he wants evidence. Ugh. The lady wishes to point out that of course she wanted to stay and assist with the investigation, but she was in a hurry to give a presentation at the university, so she was compelled to leave. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I see a man shot in front of me who I'm close enough with to have had lunch with every day, I'm probably going to try and call out at that presentation. Just putting that out there. Not to mention the fact that your officer told you to get the woman out of there. Not get her out of there, I just urged her to leave. The lady would like to point out that she in no way meant to run away from the scene of the crime. Which is why she is only too happy to cooperate and testify here in court today, of course. Unlike a certain student who refuses to admit when the game is up. You could at least have the courtesy to pay attention when I'm goading you. So she's maintaining that you got into an argument with the professor, at the end of which you shot him. Which is an out-and-out, totally unfounded lie. Still, her statement is very compelling. After all, she's an elegant, refined, young and beautiful gentlewoman from Great Britain. I mean, same. I joke. In stark contrast to you, dressed in head to toe in a dull black school uniform. I'm dressed exactly the same way you are, except for the flapping red ribbons. I love that the game is calling those out as well. Seriously, how does he do that? Well, anyway, this is our only chance to expose her testimony as the fiction that it is. If we can't do that, the trial's over. Even you with your thick skin must be able to feel the murderous looks you're getting from around the room. Only too well. I feel half dead already. And the fact that I can't see a single inconsistency in her testimony isn't making me feel any better either. The first thing to do is press her on any of her statements that seem even slightly off to you. Do that and an opening will present itself, I promise you. I need to expose the true face of this exotic foreigner that's hiding behind the mask. That's what I should be aiming for in this cross-examination. Okay, I do have an idea, but I need to restart my capture card in case it dies and also have a drink, so I'll be back to this cross-examination in a moment. Okay, back to it. So I think... let's see if this works.
Yes!
Yeah! You can always tell because the penalty thing will disappear from the corner immediately if you get it right, and the music stops. Still very unnerved by his head-turning animation, but glad that was correct. Let me just confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left. That is correct, the lady says. Well, it's odd, very odd. Dear me, what's odd is the defence's inability to express itself. Ugh. Rinosuke, what is it about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers. The cheers? Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. Ah! You're quite right, Counsel. There's only 1 glass pictured here.
Objection!
Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over minutiae? What possible difference does the presence or absence of a glass make on the case?
Objection!
Minutiae, you say? Minutia? I don't know. Could it be that the detective here removed a glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not! I would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Are you going to try and tell me you can clink with only 1? You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses over to the table. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. What? It was also terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact that I'd been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious. Sorry. There, as I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all. Oh, please. We must remember that the student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or 2 in her state of disarray? So she can conceal a glass but not a gun. Good to know. That's absurd. Oh, really? So do we take it that you are now going to accuse this vulnerable, young and beautiful woman of mischief? What? No, this can't be put down to mischief. I'd like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene. It would seem that she slipped it into a small handbag she was carrying. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency, a small handheld pouch commonly carried by well-to-do women in England. So the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. This student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end it comes to nothing. No more pretentious accusations. You've wasted enough time already. Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Counsel for the defence, are you in agreement? Well, I don't know, really. If you want to pursue the matter further, you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. So she took the glass away in her handbag. If there's a deeper significance there, it's the handbag, because she could have stashed a gun in it. Wait! The lady put the glass in her handbag, you say? Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items. Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. You're right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd pick up on that too. What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard? It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we can deduce that there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will. You can't seriously be suggesting... Inspector Hosonaga? Yes? Did you or did you not search Miss Giselle Brett's handbag on the day of the murder? Good lord, incompetence. No, sir, I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag. Order. What is the meaning of this, Inspector? The meaning of what, Prosecutor Archie? Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations. Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so, Kazuma? Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly you have no faith in the police. I mean, to be fair, you've not exactly been helpful, have you? As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting. Simply because... it was unnecessary. Unnecessary in what way? I ought to thank the student lawyer, really. I have a piece of evidence here that I'd completely forgotten about. This photographic print. This print is of a photograph that I thought would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag. Well, I never! You can see right through to what's inside. That's right. Apparently meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment. So the contents are clearly visible. Exactly. So there was no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. As you can see, there's nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilt here. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruhodo-san. Oh dear. Yeah, this case is really going on for a while. I didn't expect that. Clearly I need to change my expectations on first cases in these games. Inspector Hosanage, you will submit that print as evidence at once. Certainly, Your Excellency. Okay. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, Counsel. The court has now been shown considerable evidence. As the photographic print just submitted into the court record appears to have no further significance, I want to have a look at it before we decide that. Yeah, I don't think this is helping me, but always fun to know. I am satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Indeed, there is only one logical conclusion. That the pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is the only possible perpetrator of this crime. No. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around. I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it? I must say, you put up quite a fight for a rookie student, but the weaker meet while the strong eat. You were wasting your time. There's no way to defeat true justice. A fact you can chew on to your heart's content from the inside of your cell. This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty of a crime that I didn't commit? And Kazuma... his dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. It's really sweet that that's what he's worried about right now. I mean, it makes me worry about him, but it is sweet. Kazuma. What? Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about that last photograph the detective produced that we can contest. Which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well, I will now proceed immediately to the ruling. It seems you'll be able to report to the British government on time after all. That smug little... Ryunosuke Naruhodo, having considered all of the evidence placed before me, I hit...
Yes!
Hey! Oh, he got the bench slamming thing. That's really nice. Such good detail. Wait, Your Excellency. Ryunosuke. I don't think you can rule on this case yet.
Objection!
This amateurishness is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, gives his ruling. That's the most basic protocol of the courtroom.
Yes!
Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print just submitted appears to have no further significance, there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now, that means that if there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail, I mean, then ruling on the case at this time would be out of the question.
Objection!
This is blatant straw clutching. Look at this photographic print. All it shows is the handbag the gentlewoman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence. You better know what you're doing, Ryunosuke. I understand your objection, Counsel. Certainly the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. I can't read. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information from this handbag. What's on his hand? Because that's the only other thing that stands out to me in the photo. My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes. Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. If only I could put my finger on it. Very well, I will grant the defence one final opportunity. What? But be warned that if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. So take another look at the photographic print Inspector Hasanaga submitted before. You will identify for the court where in this print we see the significant detail to which you have alluded. I'm curious about that. I'm not seeing the special crosshairs anywhere, so I think I just have to go for it. It looks weirdly like a cow's head.
Yes!
Look at this, here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. It looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist. Clearly that has nothing to do whatsoever to do with the magnificent lady's handbag. Yes, that is a burn mark, you're right. Go on, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report. What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered his burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing, either. The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, as Prosecutor Ouchie points out, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now. Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up any longer. Actually, we shall. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyway. What's your thinking on this, Srinosuke? Do you believe this burn does have something to do with the case? To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging, in the hope that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? If we can just link that burn to the case. If we can do that, we might be able to prise the shutting door back open again. Just give up, Counsel. You can't possibly hope to do that. Indeed, I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence? Evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed it out, what I did notice was the colour draining from Miss Brett's face. Really? I have to find some link between that burn and the case. This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what that burn really means. So far I have no idea. So then, the defence will now present its evidence to the court. The evidence that demonstrates the inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. Nice to inspect the badge. Classic of Ace Attorney. Oh! It's on the side of the plate.
Yes!
What's this, Counsel? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore. Do hurry up, Rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be quite inexcusable. Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer, if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason it's recorded here forevermore. What? How? The wonders of photography, that brand new invention.
Objection!
You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. What is it in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn? There it is.
Yes!
The beefsteak? Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. The plate? Your Excellency, are you alright? As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of Le Carnaval. This emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn are exactly the same shape. Rinosuke, you genius! You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant.
Objection!
But even if that is the case, we can't know if it happened in the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some other unrelated time. Well,
Objection!
Sadly, Prosecutor Archie, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks. Why? The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly. But... I would say, looking at the picture of the wounds, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not a particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defence just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. Who serves on a metal plate when it's going to be 90 degrees centigrade? That's an awful idea. It's inconceivable that the victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of Le Carnaval, I can testify to that without hesitation. But you're a detective, not a waiter.
Yes!
There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. And yet Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day, or any before it. That's right. And the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, Counsel. Then the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would, without question, have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Archie? Well, yes, I suppose. So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? I almost don't believe it. Ryunosuke, do you think that it was inflicted after death, I guess? Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrived at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led into a terrible trap. Huh. I don't know what he means by that. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson, I presume hadn't noticed as impossible, was asleep. That would certainly wake you up, so he was already dead. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible. Apart from in one particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead. Already dead? So, new guess. She poisoned the glass, which is why she took it with her, and because she's a medical student, she would have access to that kind of thing. And then she shots him to cover it up and pin the blame on Ryunosuke. Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead. That's madness. I do wonder how he got his wrist onto it if he was already dead, but you know. Order, please. Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot. That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. But then, if they don't do a full autopsy, you wouldn't know that he'd been poisoned first. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student, but clearly he has no grasp of the facts.
Objection!
No, Prosecutor Archie, it's you who has no grasp of the facts. I beg your pardon? As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case was turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement. But, Your Excellency, the justice system in our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. I mean, you could have done that earlier, mate. Miss Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I am studying in your country, after all. But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now? My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. Oh boy. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. Oh, the English. Such a delightful bunch. But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of an English gentleman. So I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level. Oh, well... You're the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honoured by this lavish consideration you so graciously afford us. So presumably, this was a plot to break up the Japanese-English relations by people who don't like the Japanese by murdering an Englishman and framing a Japanese person. Good. I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So, we're finally going to hear our own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke. The victim's death. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burnt his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death beside the gunshot. If there's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace, please, do show me. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. Oh boy. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in the Supreme Court's history. Thank you. Easy does it. I hope that is the last time I will have to sully my lips with the coarse tones of your unbecoming tongue. Oh, forgive me. I hope I haven't insulted anyone. Not at all, not at all. It is a delight merely to hear you speak, dear lady. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim's burn is utterly irrelevant. I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what has happened here today. The Minister of Justice? May that irritating little bully of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Amen. Oh, of course. Thanks? Was that a prayer, then? Well, you'll have to forgive the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with the cross-examination now. I expect you've noticed that this little bully of a student, as you put it, doesn't miss much. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, counsel, that this will be your final cross-examination in this trial. Are we really at the end? If you fail to demonstrate any problems with this witness's testimony, I will be ruling on the case immediately. Is that clear? Oh, why is that such a mood? Yes, Your Excellency. Then you may proceed with the cross-examination. No idea when he burnt his wrist. I have a feeling I know what to do here. Because if my theory is poison, then presenting this, I can point to the glass. Let's go for it.
Yes!
Okay, that was wrong. I guess it's back to pressing. Well, we took a chance. It failed, but we took it. What do you think, Ryunosuke? I don't know. I think this could be hard work. She can speak Japanese brilliantly, but she doesn't seem to want to say very much. The more she says, the more she's likely to give away. This Englishwoman knows that only too well. She's quite formidable. Dr. Wilson's burn tells us something, I'm sure. I need to use this cross-examination to find out what. First things first, I'm going to press her on everything she said and try to make her blurt something out. The one time I don't try that strategy, it's necessary, of course. What is it, Kazuma? What are you thinking? Oh, don't worry. It's nothing. Don't trust that.
Yes!
But his hand was on the searing hot plate for at least 3 whole seconds. You can't not have noticed. Do you think so? Let me ask you something. Sorry? Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly on those unsightly black trousers of yours has been wide open. You can't not have noticed, can you? Huh? What? Oh boy. Ha, what fun. You hadn't realised. The dear lady is absolutely right. As your friend, you've embarrassed me as well as yourself, Ryunosuke. Why didn't you tell me? Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman. He chose honourable silence over a vulgar scream. Can your tiny brains imagine such a thing? Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can.
Yes!
Well, I can't. Anyway. Here's the toast again. As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated water, is that right? Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at that time, if you remember. Which explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, waiter? Exactly as you say, sir. Although... Whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table... I'm afraid I don't remember that. Damn you. Ah, I have enough English to understand that at least. For the benefit of the others in the court, it means bless you. I think it means the exact opposite. Anyway. No other possible cause of death. Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes. Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. And as there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death, it can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to this innocent man's life. But it doesn't make any sense. The burn must have happened straight away when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter. Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, then he must already have been dead at that point.
Objection!
And yet, the fact is that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Until you're able to show the court evidence to disprove this, that this is a complete waste of time. I concur. Prosecutor Achi is right. Ugh. So I guess we're gonna have to talk about the whole your rubbish powers of investigation, so she would have known that they wouldn't have spotted poison, etc., etc.
Yes!
Without leaving a trace. If someone is shot or strangled or stabbed or thrown from a height, however a person's life is taken, there are always telltale traces on the body. Quite right, dear lady. And as our police force has thoroughly examined the body of the deceased, there can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosonaga? As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation. Apart from the many, many flaws you've shown so far. There'll be physical traces with all those causes of death, that's true. But maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. If, heaven forbid, you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly you think the professor did lose his life. Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it? Oh no, perish the thought. Calling such a sweet young lady's innocence into question. On my honour, I wouldn't cut down any who dare cast such aspersions. A way of killing someone that leaves no trace. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. Inferior? What do you mean by that? In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But in this country, you investigate once and that's the end of it. Isn't that so? Quite right. Le Carnival is open for business as usual today, just days after the incident. Exactly, which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost. You seem to want to say something. It doesn't even occur to your naive detectives to try to preserve the crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can, you understand. A killer blow. The lady is as formidable as she is beautiful. Amazing. He's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prosecutor Ouchie is finally starting to see sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before when something didn't seem quite right. What do you think, Rinosuke? I think it's going terribly. No matter how much I press her, I'm not turning up any new information. Yes, as I suspected, she's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony, or the cross-examination will be over. But that would mean I have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere to help us find a chink in her armor. Kazuma. What, Rinosuke? There is one thing I noticed, something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean about Miss Brett? Actually, no. About the person standing next to her, Inspector Hasanaga. The detective? Yes. He seemed to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant, excuse my hiccups, if it might present an opening, maybe. I assume this will be part of the gimmick of multiple witnesses, because that doesn't really happen in Ace Attorney. It was a thing in Versus Professor Layton, but not any of the mainstream games. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on that last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself, let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then. I wonder what Kazuma's thinking. I'll find out soon enough, I suppose, once I press Miss Brett on her last statement again. Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burned his wrist like that. We don't need to read these.
Yes!
Inferior? What do you mean by that? Okay, this is stuff we've seen before.
Wait.
There we go, okay. Yes, there it is again. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Why? Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they often let their guard down. You're right. Look at him, he's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue the man in his train of thought. Sorry? Pursue? I'll explain how to do it now, Rinosuke. It's all to do with the witness marker. What marker? At the moment, we're focused on Miss Brett, who's the person actually making the current statement. But by moving the marker left and right, you can turn your attention to other people in the stand. Okay, so new mechanic. While you're looking at the other witness, you'll be able to pursue them with A. If you can catch the person at just the right time, you might uncover some new information to pursue. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere among the people on the stand, take a good look around. Alright then, so first I should move the marker across and focus on the detective, then pursue him and see what's on his mind. Here we go.
Wait.
Excuse me!
I love the excuse me. What's the meaning of this? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts, deeply. It looked like you were thinking something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the lady next to you had to say? If there's something you'd like to say, please, share it with the court.
Objection!
What is the meaning of this? It's the delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over, immediately. Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved in the case. Inspector Hasanaga. Yes? Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Well, yes. If you don't mind, I would like to speak. This is a weird one because it feels like we're getting to the end of the case, but I've also been recording for ages, and there's not much to cut out with a game like this, so could be a long episode time. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain. Which is why I, Satoru Hasanaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. A crime scene thief? TV, do not shut yourself down. That's not allowed. It doesn't show up on the actual recording, but it's a massive pop-up on my TV screen, hence why I mention it every time it happens, but a crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. Is that... This is the bottle of carbonated water I took to the victim's table on the day in question. And yes, it's lost all of its fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle. I can see it. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming. I guarantee it. Such classics as Detective, 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 Detective Dick Gumshoe. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. Okay. Miss Brett. Can you confirm this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. Let's see if we can examine it quickly. So this carbonated water is the last drink Dr. Wilson ever had. It looks like there's a little left in the bottle, although it's just plain water now. You know, I've been sweating so much, I'm absolutely parched. Do not do it. You're gonna poison yourself, you idiot. I'll just have a sip of this to keep me going. No, Rinosuke, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh no, you're right. We don't know what might be inside, do we? You never cease to amaze me, Rinosuke, in more ways than one. I wonder... Could there be anything in this water? What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. Oh, is this what we have to present when she talks about there not being a trace? The label is written in a foreign language that I don't recognise. Do you know what it says, Kazuma? I think it's French. This must be very expensive water. Yes, but what does it say? That's what I was asking. Then go to France and ask. You could just say that you don't know. I kind of love them. They're great. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well, counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervour. Ahem. So, present it again, but this time use the bottle instead of the photo?
Yes!
Yeah! What is this? The bottle of water? Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison. Poison? On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip the poison into his drink? There's only one person who could possibly have done it. Jezebel Brett, it was you.
Objection!
It's outrageous to suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You little rookie imbecile, have you even considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we've only just signed an accord of friendship with the British Empire? Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusations could jeopardise the entire treaty?
Objection!
This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime. What? The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We're here to determine the truth. Ahem. If I may, I will silence you forever for this disgrace. Oh, give me the shut up thing. I love that. It is you who should be silent. Of course. Dear lady. Where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. I'm sorry, my lady, to what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior. But no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. This bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not. Of course. So this is where the glass comes into play. You did? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And? What did you find, Inspector? I ordered tests for every toxin that's available in this country at the present time. We could find no trace of poison of any description in the bottle of carbonated water, Your Excellency. What? Are you sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the Chief Coroner himself. No. Test the glass. It's what I've been saying for like half an hour. I'm very grateful to all you Japanese. You successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you. But of course, dear lady, the pleasure was all ours. I was so sure. This can't be right. Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think that cross-examination's clarified everything. As the prosecution have asserted, a shot to the chest from the gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. The court wishes to apologise for the great inconvenience this has caused you, Miss Brett. Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defence. Do you have any further new evidence to present to the court at this point? Oh, his shaky hands. Kazuma. I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more. Well, if you'll excuse me now, I really must be leaving. I wonder if we'll ever see her eyes. It's about time we had a witness breakdown. Oh, hello. Susato Ex Machina. Please, wait. Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. Mikotoba? In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. Again, apologies for any errors in pronunciation. I'm sorry. Oh wait, we have another to be continued. Good grief, well I really can't make this episode any longer. So I will take this save point, and I will go. I need a break anyway. It's like 6 PM and I haven't eaten much today, so I'm gonna go have dinner. And then scream some more. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.